So we have a .1.1.55/28. Okay, so we have a /28. So if you're going on your CIDR, your /28 gives, it puts you on the column of 16 if you match the /28 CIDR on what you have to your cheat sheet. It gives you the column of 16. So you have a group size of 16. So the two you can fill in is you can put the group size, which is 16, and we said for the 4th octet, the group size corresponds to the number of IP addresses. So we have group size 16, that gives you 16 IP addresses. Now, from here, we know we do not put the ID and the broadcast IP router. So that takes out 2. So we have the number of usable IP addresses, we have 16 minus 2. So that gives us 14. Okay, so that gives us 14. Now, looking at your cheat sheet, we can do the CIDR and the subnet, the CIDR subnet. So we have the /28, and we know we're dealing with the 4th octet here. And we know our magic number is 256. Our magic number is 256, but you do not put that on your octet. So that leaves you at 255. So we have 255 because we're not dealing with this octet. We have 255, we're not dealing with this octet, and we have 255, we're not dealing with this octet. Now, looking at the subnet mask, you have the corresponding subnet for the /28, you have 240. So that leaves us with 240 here. So we already have, so I have our subnet 255.255.255.240. So we have the group size and the number of IP addresses sorted out, the number of usable IP addresses, and the CIDR subnet sorted out. Now, we're coming on to these other attributes of the subnetting. So what do we know? We know the group size. You begin from 0 and you go in increments of your group size. So we'll go from 0 in increments of group size. We have our target IP octet as 55. So we have to go past that IP octet value, or the target IP octet value we have here, which is 55. So going in increments of 16, we have 0, 16, 32, 48, and 64. Now we see 55 falls between 48 and 64. Everybody, you notice at 64, you've gone past your target IP octet, which is 55. So we can stop at 64. Now, take note of this. You have 48. You have IP of 55 and you have 64. So your target IP falls between the 48 and the 64. So you set the value before, let me go back to this slide. So the number, so if you're looking at 2 here, we've done all of this, we've gone past our target IP. The number before or equal to target IP is your network ID. Okay? So the number before the target IP, which in this case would be 48, that is our target. That's our network ID. So we know our example is 10.1.1.55/28. Now, our network ID is 10.1.1.48. That is how we get the 48. So that is the number before our target IP. Okay. So we have the dot 48, that gives us a network ID here. And now we have, with the network ID, we know it goes from, so we know the group size goes from 48 to 64 for the network. So for this particular subnet, we know the 64 becomes our next network. 64 is our next network. So we could go ahead and write that as 10.1.1.64 is our next network. So that is the beginning of the next subnet. So from here, we could solve the other attributes. So we have the broadcast IP. What do we say our broadcast IP is? That is the next network minus 1. So that is the last IP in the subnet, or it is the next network minus 1. So we have 64 minus 1. That gives us 63. So that is our broadcast IP. And remember, the network and the broadcast IP, you do not put those on your router. Okay. So we have a broadcast IP. Now for our first host is the first IP after your network ID. So we have the network ID plus 1. So we have 48 plus 1. That gives us 10.1.1.49. And the last host, so that is the last usable IP address. That is one IP address before your broadcast IP. As such, we have the last host being the broadcast IP minus 1. And that gives us 10.1.1.62.